And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Ragami, Raphael, Gabriel, Michael, angels, guardian angels, you are one. It's time to protect. Now, Ragami is a Euro game, a game in which you're trying to move around and accomplish goals before the other players do. It involves dice, it involves PowerPoints, there's all kinds of interesting things here with the theme of being a guardian angel on top of it. Let's take a look. Here's the board, and it's, if you can see from the close-up here, that you're looking at above a city, and so this is just different spots. These different numbered spots are streets, and in between streets are a block. So, for example, this purple building here is a block that touches 30, 23, 24, and 29. And there's a setup going on here, but I'm going to kind of skip the setup and just kind of tell you how the game works. At the beginning of a round, one of the things that's going to happen are these dice are going to be rolled. And these three dice can be rolled by one player. And if a red die is rolled, that's going to bring a demon out on the board. And the demon is a little red dude who comes out, and he goes to a spot on the board, and you can pick where he goes. So let's say you put him in that street right there. Okay, and then you can change this, whoever does that can change this number to anything they want, and then they're going to put these numbers here. This is how many actions of each type can be taken this round, and we'll come back to these actions in just a moment. But let's go out to the board itself. What's going to happen on this board is players themselves have a few things. They have the Ragami. This is their guardian angel, who's this, gigantic person walking around the board. You also have a saint, who is a little meeple in your color, and he's moving around. He and your Ragami are not supposed to ever be in the same space. Now, this and the demons will walk around on streets, but your Ragami can actually stand on a city block and go from block to block. Finally, you have a power die. This will start at 1 each turn, but in between turns, this will increase depending on how many Ragami are touching it, and it can be on a block. So if it's here, between turns, let's say it was started at 3, it will increase to 5 because it always goes up by 1, and since this Ragami's here, it will go up to 5. These power dice can be decreased by 3 to give you a point, but they're also used to fight problems. See, we have major problems. We have trouble. We have big deals going on in this city. Conflicts, they're called. And that's represented by these black dice. These black dice are rolled, and they're going to be placed in different locations on the board, and that's used by these little tokens here that you'll turn over, and they're different numbers that match different spots on the board. And so you'll roll them and put them in the matching spots on the board, along with the tokens, so that way you don't do the same spots twice. As the game progresses, your Ragamis want to go to these locations where there's trouble and fight them, because by doing so, you're going to get victory points, which, notice here's a victory point track. And you also will beat the conflict, hopefully, and there's a conflict track here, and you keep track of how many conflicts you've won, because at the end of the game, whoever has taken care of the most conflicts is going to get victory points according to that chart right there. Now, as the game progresses, you want to go fight these conflicts. So how do you fight a conflict? Let's say I'm going to go here and fight this conflict. To fight this conflict, well, I can use my own Ragami who's there. He's worth 2 points. If another one is there, then he helps me. Each saint that's there, not of my own color, but of other people's colors that are there, are going to give me 1 point of power to fight this. I'm going to be collecting these power cubes as the game goes by, and I can spend these to fight it. And if I have a power die that's on a block adjacent to that problem, then I can reduce that by a certain number of points to add. If I can get higher than that 6, then I'll win. Of course, if there's a bunch of demons there, they'll add to the negative effects. So this would be an 8 that I have to fight here. But if I'm successful, then yay, the die is gone. We leave the chip there. If I'm unsuccessful, then the die stays there, and it becomes problematic. At the end of each of all the angels' turn, each of these dice increase by 1, and if it's a 6, then the die goes away, and we put this no angel allowed token on that spot, and you can't go there anymore. So, what are you trying to do over the course of the game? You are going and be taking actions each turn. Now your action, there's 4 actions to take. Moving your Ragami 4 spaces, which can be 4 streets, or from block to block, which is faster. You can do that with any die. With this die, you can draw 3 of these cards and keep 1 of them. With this die, you can move up to 4 demons, or add a new demon to the board. With this die, or you can move, first you move up to 4 saints, and then you must move 4 demons around on the board. And with this one, you can start a conflict where your Ragami is. Now, what you often do is, because there's certain actions you want to stop other people from getting, if this one is down to 1 and there's only 1 action left, I might move my Ragami with this one just so that no one else can take any more cards. Once a die is used up, they come down here. When all the dice are used up, the round is over. So on your turn, you can decrease one of these dice and do that action, or you can play a card from your hand. Now, these cards that are in the game have different things. They can do all sorts of special abilities. This one gives you extra power. You use it in a battle. That's what that symbol means. This one here lets you start a conflict even if the die is not there. But many of the cards, like this one here, also have a little white cube in the top, and you can discard these in battle as a power point. And there's different ways to get these power points, but that is one of the ways to do so. Another way to get a power point is by moving someone else's saint to a problem where there's trouble. Whenever you do that, you'll get some of these power points. You can get victory points by, if you move to a spot where there is a demon or demons and there's nothing else, then you just stomp those suckers. If you are at a spot where there's a problem and someone else is there and they solve the problem instead of you, then you will get 2 of these power cubes to kind of make up for it. And finally, when your saint is at a spot, you want to, let's say the green guy solves and I'm purple, and he wins this battle. Let's say he fights a battle here that's worth 3 and he gets 3 points. Since my saint was there, I will also get 1 point. So there's lots of different ways to get points. The best way to get points is, of course, by power. Also by killing angels. At the end of the game, you'll turn in white cubes, 2 for a point. And if you're saint and angels, let's see, that you can trade in points on cubes for points. And at the end of the game, whoever has done the most conflicts gets points. In between rounds, conflicts that have been defeated are thrown out there, and then there's this red die. Now, this is a mechanic that's very similar to Small World, and I want to talk about this now. When you're fighting a conflict, you either know that you're going to get it or not. You have, hopefully enough of these cubes and or cards and enough people there to fight it, but you might not. Or you might not want to spend all those. In that case, you can roll this die. Now, you can only roll this die once, and once you roll this die, you can't add anything else to that conflict. This die has 2 blank sides, and then it has 1 power and 2 power. So you can roll this. Let's say this is at 5, and I have 5 cubes, but I don't want to use more than 3 of them. So I have this guy here. He's 2. I have the saint. That's 3. I'll say, you know what? I'm going to spend 1 for 4, and then I'm going to roll the die because I should be able to roll and get something. And I roll and I get a blank. Then I just failed because I was greedy and wanted to save my resources for another battle. So that's how the game progresses. You can send demons into spots where you know other people are going to try to solve the problems. You can try and solve problems before other people. You can send your saints into a spot to get points. The game will continue until there is a token on every space. Whether that token is a solve token, in which case it's like this, or upside down that says no angels allowed. At that point, if someone gets to 30 points, the game will also end. And whoever has the most points is the winner. I think the theme here is going to be a love it or hate it kind of theme. I thought it was a refreshing take, something different and interesting. But to be honest, when you get down to it, it really didn't feel like I was being a guardian angel. It felt like I was just trying to move my pieces in the most optimal way. That's not a knock on it. It didn't detract. The theme didn't detract from the playing of the game. But the demons were so easy. I was like, oh, I just knocked them out, killed them so easily. The trouble was much more difficult to deal with, but it didn't have any kind of form. I almost wish there was some kind of, and I wish that the little meeples for the demons were maybe shaped like demons or something like that. I think that might have added some more enjoyment to the theme. Now, that being said, Ragami is a game of intense interaction. I mean, really, you are going after each other all the time. You're moving the other person's saint away from where they wanted to move, or you're sneaking your own saint into a problem they're going to solve and say, hey, if you're going to get some points, I would like a point too. Or you will take actions on dice just so that those actions, you'll move your your angel around, your Ragami around, just to lower a die so other people can't use it. And so there's this constant back and forth. It's not too in your face, but there was many times where I stood up and called the person next to me a very mean jerk. There are some cards that I think are much more powerful than others, or at least more useful than others, and you learn that as it goes along. The card mechanic's not a bad one. Draw cards, keep one of your choice. Most of the cards have some situation where they're going to be useful. I think the card that allows you to initiate a power conflict is very incredibly useful because those get you the most points, and being able to do that even if the dice are used up is a big deal. Ragami's an interesting game. I wasn't sure what to expect from it. I thought the theme was interesting. And it is a good game. I wouldn't call it a great game. And there's a lot of things going on around the board as you roll dice. There's obviously going to be some luck involved, but there wasn't as much. It's all about placement and moving and really just messing with your neighbors and going after them. There's, like I said, taking things that they want to take, making the game end quicker, actions that they take, moving your thing around. There's a lot of interaction, and I think that's the best thing. I think some Eurogamers aren't going to like this because, oh, Johnny just did something mean to me. Yeah, he's going to, and it's going to happen a lot during the course of the game. So it's an interesting one. Certainly a theme you might want to check out, Ragami.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find the latest board game news at Dicetowernews.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Fun Again Games, the world's best game source. Fun Again Games has over 5,000 games available. Check them out at funagain.com.